Why?
Some fun research.
Yes.
Has to look nice for other world.
Yeah, I mean, we can switch to screen share.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, so patterns. Well, how many were there last time? Anybody counted? It's around 50?
No, much more.
More than 50.
More than 50, yeah.
Did you count all?
I think there was 81 last time we counted.
Did you count all the documents in there?
Yeah.
The 3 templates, and the pattern map, and the
What's
full of 3 copies.
Okay, so it's 75 and not 80. Yeah, but
Still, we
but most of them are just candidates, right?
yeah, but
So,
they quite. Yeah.
so there's you can also look at the map, which is
Which doesn't.
I mean it's just too much in there to
Wow.
yeah, there's quite a lot of work going on here. Now the problem with this is
Yeah, it's quite amazing. I think it's like been a crazy day.
it has been a crazy thing. And it's been super productive. But there's one thing that, for instance, Christian came to me and said, "Oh, this pattern co-constructing curriculum." Well, actually, pedagogical patterns project have a pattern which is exactly like that, but in a non-hybrid version from 10 years ago, right? And I think part of the work that we will need to do is to find those links and see which of the patterns that we have are duplicates or extensions. I think, in that case, yes, I had the idea of students sort of co-constructing curriculum with the teacher, but I think there's something different when you do it in a kind of a hybrid context. So both in terms of using the technology to support the process and also bringing in the constraints of diverse students. Yeah, but I don't know. Well, first, any kind of reflections on the day, especially those. Well, first, let's start with the people who are kind of first-time pattern writers.
I see the point of doing it in a group. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, can you elaborate on that?
The pace is faster.
Uh-huh.
Perspectives. Maybe it's not fast enough.
Yeah, that's also hard to know when you're new, right? Are we doing it good enough?
Yeah. And you get more ideas, more perspectives.
It's interesting because we started yesterday with triplets where we had like one of our more experienced pattern writers working with 2 novices. But by now, my sense is that people are sort of fairly kind of confident and independent in writing patterns, right?
I think the next thing is, yesterday I did 1 pattern together with people. This day we've been doing like, I don't know, 20, 30 patterns or something like that. And so that's like a crazy amount of more patterns, but also on the other hand, we've been putting it all into the synopsis part. And I think it will require, to do this just as productively to the next level of pattern writing. We would then need to know what goes in the forces, how are the genre of that, what goes in the problem, what goes in the solution, and really before picking up that pace and then doing 30 finished patterns on a day.
Well, we had, we set a kind of an objective to clear the table from all these post-its. And I think we've managed to do that. So I think perhaps, yes, this is the time to kind of go back and do things in more depth, right? And yeah.
I don't know about these, I think there's still some that should be somehow captured.
5 or 6, there's still 5 or 6 that are already mixed.
Yeah, pick them up. Yeah.
We'll have the,
In
another,
table and, yeah.
So we can have another auction. We can have another auction of the patterns that haven't picked up, been
The
picked
last
up yet.
ones. Yeah.
No, Christian, any observations, kind of as a sort of like the
So
more.
yes, first of all, I think this rapid process that we had today and yesterday, I never had experienced it that fast, and it was a great experience. I think we have almost 100 patterns in there. Not only just the pattern names, but actually we made it to the next stage where we have at least a synopsis, so we're more confident. It's not just an idea, it's really a pattern. So we're putting it into the online space. Also, I had the same observation. We first worked with 3 people and had a lot of collaboration, and we get more and more confident, and then we really want to speed up. That was also a very good experience and a very nice side effect. I never had that before, is because we were putting online so many patterns in such a short time. I found much more cross-references between the patterns. Like say, okay, this is like that, this goes there, and these kind of things, making it really like a language. And the final observation, thanks for Yisha for putting out the template and also installing or preparing the mind map. This is really helpful. It's really good. So I remember last EduPLoP we were discussing it with these hours how to do it, and this is really speeding up.
Well, it's building on what we did, right? Because essentially, I just took the template from last EduPLoP. So because most of the people here weren't so fussy, so we didn't have spend half a day on, should the template have this heading or that heading? Should it say therefore or not? Just kind of dived into it. And the Google folder seems to work nice, and it's actually easy to search it, and that hack with the prefix again seems to work nice. So it's kind of we've been talking about the need for a pattern repository, right? And then it just kind of it's just there. I also found the process incredibly energetic and rapid. It was really surprising, because I've done like various pattern workshops, never seen anything like this happen. Yes.
But really it is.
I also, I think we should also, I don't know how much you're aware of, we have these remote participants and they are participating as much as they can. So I know Steve has put in more than a couple of patterns. Maha and Bonnie are putting in comments. So that's one thing that we don't really get from the Google Drive is kind of notification that Maha has put in a comment here. The sort of the event stream is quite crude. So I'm afraid we will need to kind of almost manually look for those comments in the patterns that they've been added to, and there were a few patterns where we explicitly asked people to contribute, but we'll see how that goes.
Well, the email back channel from the hybrid participants are quite awesome.
Yeah, but it's also interesting in terms of because when we had a mailing list with everybody on it, they kind of had, for some reason, they weren't kind of participating, and then when we narrowed it down just to the hybrid participants, so they're more kind of responsive, and I don't know if there's something about a safe space there,
I think there's some patterns in there.
I think there are some patterns in there, and hopefully some of the remote participants would kind of
they could write those patterns, right? Yeah.
Okay.
One reflection also on the patterns. It's really what I also think. I mean that maybe you could say something about that. But it seems we also spend most time on the most important parts of the panel. I mean, if you really go through all, when I look at it, it seems, oh wow, then there are forces, there are all kinds of stuff. It becomes very sort of cumbersome in a way to work with. But I think you've got to focus on problem, context, and synopsis, something like that, and then it kind of works very fast, and then you can sort of return to those parts that are also, I guess, valuable, but can be difficult. I mean, you can quickly come to use a lot of time reflecting on where should this bit be or where should that bit be, and that could also, I mean, so it's a bit of a tension.
There's some work they have.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean,
But I also think like the value of all the requirements and implications and disadvantages and values and forces and all that stuff. I think it's just the next step of the genre.
Yeah.
Right. So now we are kind of thinking in this way, and I can take a post-it note and then I can write something, and then I look across the things that I've written and I can see the structures of that. And I think the next step would be to then try to expand that structure. And I think when we've done that a couple of times, you can just see the forces.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make them up. It can feel kind of artificial. Right? So that, yeah.
There's also this duality, if you think of patterns in the context of design science, right? So they have this dual purpose. They're, on one hand, they're kind of practical building blocks. So, if you're an education practitioner, you should be able to read those patterns and identify the relevance to your practice and use them.
Yeah.
But they also should have, at least I think, some people disagree, but I think they should also qualify as a scientific genre. Now, in order to qualify as a scientific genre, then you need to really be explicit about the evidence and the theory behind it. So the examples are kind of, sort of a quick link to the evidence, but ideally you would need to expand that into something that's sort of empirically valid, and then have a kind of a theory section that gives the justification for this. And I think one of the advantages of the kind of synergy that we have in this room, that we have people who are fluent in educational theory as well. So hopefully at some point that would come in, but I think it's early for that. It's something that
As I was in contact a while ago before my back problem started with our university. We also have a Center for Teaching Excellence or something, and we already had 2 really good discussions, and they were very much interested in all these pattern stuff, and it's completely new to them. And we also talked about, well, we could have some patterns in some of their students. An assignment could be to look up the theory behind these patterns and add that to the pattern descriptions, which would make a great assignment for them, and also will add a lot of value to the patterns, because they're colleagues that are practitioners, they say, I don't care about the theory. If it works and I use it and it helps, I really don't care. But there are others, where's the theory behind it? I don't believe in it if I don't see the theory behind it. So I think that would be really valuable information, and that's missing in most of the patterns. Really, absolutely most of the patterns, including all of the ones I wrote. But there are ways like this to involve. We don't have to do that ourselves. We can do that hybrid.
It's also I think I think there's something here which is about the discourse of the community. So if you send a paper to a EduPLoP conference, then you kind of don't get pressed for that scientific accuracy. If you try to send a patent paper to an education science conference, then I think it's not that the genre of a patent paper would necessarily be rejected, but you will be expected to have that, that theoretical depth. So maybe also, when tomorrow we talk about where we want to take this next, we should think about both PLoP conferences and kind of slightly more academic or educational science.
And practitioners as well.
Yeah. I think the notion of principle practical knowledge fits well in this context, because it's not theory in the traditional sense, but it's principle. It's knowledge, it's principle, and it's practical. So, and there's an article in Journal of Learning Sciences. So,
So we should look at that.
we could defend it.
But I think that's something really valuable, actually thinking across the spectrum, like from a journal in, I don't know, speculative philosophy to a journal of, a PLoP or something like that. What could actually be achieved within the spectrum? I think design patterns actually has something valuable, like a genre or a way of thinking or a formation of seeing the world in these patterns that are actually valuable across the spectrum.
Yeah.
And also if you want to kind of, broaden and deepen the potential of design patterns, that will also be the way to go, to have those alien connections with strange people. Perhaps, not doing design patterns exactly right, but what they do might be exciting.
Right, this is an idea that's been floating around, and me and Steve talked about this, about patterns as boundary objects. So patterns can connect between, the sort of the more practical, pragmatic design sort of perspective and the more sort of theoretical, academic, philosophical perspective, and to that effect also with a sort of a data-centric perspective. So patterns can also tell you if you really want to look for data-centric kind of evidence for your methods, then a pattern can kind of say what kind of data you should be looking for. But that's a separate discussion.
Peter Baumgartner made it explicit part of the taxonomy of educational methods and patterns that close the gap between the practical part and the theory.
Yeah.
They can connect these two in a great way.
Exactly, but yeah, so that's also what I use design.
Okay, so I think we've definitely earned our dinner. Any kind of, tomorrow we said we need to really consolidate and think about how we take this further, because a few people are leaving, and also we need to kind of have that space of time to prepare stuff so we can continue working. But I don't know if anybody has some kind of final insights or questions or thoughts to end the day.
Just a single comment actually, because as a newcomer to pattern language, I'm starting writing this up, giving a template that was really good to have a template, but then again, it was not sure to me that the wording of the things were actually, so I tried to intermingle between the synopsis and the problem, and sometimes it's overlapping too much. I was like, where does that go? Because that was also in the synopsis, so I was a bit, had difficulty in where to put these things. So one way you could do it was actually to provide maybe an ideal type or archetypal wording. So in each of these templates you should put, or just give an example. So a fully functional, really proven one, so you can just write it. I think when to prepare for this conference, I read the things from Christopher Alexander and tried to write that down. And that, to me, seemed even more clear. What he did, also just the typographical things that he did to highlight that this must be in bold, and this must be that must be in small caps. Just for me, was more easy to approach, I think.
We had discussion discussions on that, and then there's always discussions. I think we all three prefer the Alexandrian style, but my experience is that especially people beginning with patterns, they find it well more easy if they have named sections, and so they know now I'm reading the problem statement and now I'm reading it. And I think you need some experience or knowledge of patterns in order to be able to read the Alexandrian way, you know, where to look for what you are looking for. I totally agree. They are much better to read. And the good thing is actually we did that in one of the papers. We just transformed this format into Alexandrian kind of format. That was the patterns, and that was an exercise of, I don't know, 15 minutes or so, and that was really, because the structure is more or less also in the Alexandrian form. There are no headings, and there's some other highlighting stuff going on, and some separation of sections and that kind of.
I also think it perhaps depends on how seriously you take the sections. Like, I just put stuff in there, and then I think, well, then we can always work with it, so I don't have to.
I take tomorrow.
That's the
solution, but I still need to develop a part of the problem, so I just drop it in there.
Yeah, you can find the solutions at some point, right?
But I mean, the idea about the template was,
we will track who made all those patterns. He or she will start doing.
The template is really a scaffold, so these, the headings are kind of sort of prompts for you to think about things, and eventually, it's a soft template. You can delete stuff and move around, but also, we did provide some kind of fairly mature pattern papers which have gone through the EduPLoP review and shepherding cycle. What we didn't provide is perhaps a kind of a worked example of how you go from an idea to a fully kind of developed pattern, and we did that a bit in the session we recorded on the first day, but probably do more than that. Okay.
Actually, pattern and worded examples would be probably the final product, because if you want to reuse a pattern in different contexts, my experience is that you need examples, or you need to make examples, not just that.
That's something we've seen a lot, that people find it very hard to relate to a pattern without seeing a few kind of thick examples. So that's agreed.
We can go into ethnographers for that. Right, Sarah?
Yeah. All right. So
Thank you very much.
thank you, and very good.